bring me to the best places. What is this? What is this? It's very empty at the moment.
This is my indoor riding school. No, I'm joking. It could be anything right now. And if the grants weren't approved, it could have been anything. That was the point. So if we didn't get, there was a grant on the robotics and things, and if that wasn't approved, we could have turned this into anything. It could have been a pig rearing unit, we could have made compost, it could have been, an equestrian, whatever they're called, sand paddock thing, arena, could have had a school, could have had a school for children if we wanted. But yeah, no, everything's gone forward, everything's fine. So where I'm sitting about now, there's going to be robots just behind me.
What sort of robots?
2 Lely robots, Astronaut 5s they're called.
Astronaut 5?
Yes,
How's that?
I think it's a 5, yeah they are.
But astronaut, why?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. They look fair space age to me, so maybe that's what they were thinking.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to milk 120 Jersey cows on 2 robots.
Right. Now, Everyone else is going, abort, let's not do dairy.
I know.
You hear about the number of thousands of dairy farms that have gone to the wall.
They are doing, and they're even less, yeah.
So you've chosen to go down the dairy route.
Well, I just think while everyone else is jumping ship, it's probably the time to get involved. No.
Also, I suppose what's interesting is that you were talking about a breed that went out of fashion purely because of the volume of milk they were producing. So
yes.
We're
going quality,
right,
not quantity. So our milk contract is based around the quality of the milk, which is good, not necessarily, it is based around the quantity, but more about the quality. So we will be producing a milk with a higher butterfat content and lots of other things. And yeah, that's what we will be paid on. So we'll get a premium on our milk for the better quality that it is.
So there's a market for this premium milk?
We are going to Graham's Dairies, and they are in Stirling in Scotland, and they specialise in like Jersey milk, which is wonderful.
Ice creams and yogurts and all sorts of stuff?
Yeah, they're producing like kefir, I think that's how you say it, protein drinks and my brother did weightlifting for a while, and he was drinking the Gold Top Jersey milk, and he's in like down south, so it's got quite a far, you know what I mean? It's not just a localised thing, which is quite nice.
I haven't seen any Jersey cows here.
No, you've seen lots of other cows.
So you bought yourself an astronaut, and you're going to be milking some cows you haven't got yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. No, I think since 2016 we started putting infrastructure in place. I think from the outside it does look a little bit like we're not ready, but we've been putting steps in place. Every time we've done something, it is with milking Jersey cows in mind. So for instance, the calving shed that we put up, we have used it for sucklers. It's not designed for that. It's designed for calving Jersey cows. So it doesn't necessarily work well with suckler cows, and we've found things quite hard work the way we set it up, but actually come to the day when we start milking, we'll find it easier because that's what it was designed for. So we've put the lane in so that milk tankers can get in. We've widened the lane so they can fit down. We've put electric in, calving sheds. There's concrete absolutely everywhere, which is unbelievable. We've upgraded the electric supply to 3-phase, which cost an absolute arm and a leg. Obviously, the big shed's already up. So everything has just been put in steps, towards the final goal. So I think once we get there, it's going to be a case of, we don't have to do that because we've already done it. Even though it might look a bit silly that since 2020 there's been a shed like this stood here with nothing in it, and we're using it for chopping wood, it's already here and it's ready.
So when did the plan when did it start?
Well, Roy's plan started years ago, if I'm honest. This was originally a Jersey farm, and it's so stupid that you can't really tell people that it's all, it's just, whimsical and it's lovely. We used to lean over the fence and pet the Jersey cows, and we loved it, and we loved how inquisitive they were and how naughty they were, and they were just really nice creatures that we both took a liking to. And we always said we'd like to bring Jerseys back here, and we didn't actually believe, I don't think at that time, that we'd be able to have the opportunity to get on this farm. I don't think we thought that was possible. It was always a dream, but like an unattainable kind of dream. But yeah, lo and behold, we've managed to get on this farm, and we're going to put Jerseys back on it.
But that must have been music to the previous owner's ears when you took it on?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to think that helped in their decision. It might not have done, it might have just been purely money, but I'd like to think that they wanted to see a young couple. At that time we were young, and maybe not slightly quite as young now. We're in our 30s, should we say, and I'd like to think that they wanted to see us get on and sort of do what they did, kind of thing. But I'll be very happy to have them down to talk about cows, because they were superbly knowledgeable about the subject, especially Jersey cows. I don't know if they do now, or they did hold the record for the highest priced Jersey bull. So they are really very good.
Wow.
Yeah, they're wonderful. And they'd be a real hive of information to us when we get there.
I mean, this is those bits of those nuggets that get passed down, and I think that's what's another fear of almost when you go to a farm. It's like, what did it do originally? Okay, so why are you now doing this when you used to grow hops? You know, it's sort of that, you know, the markets have changed so dramatically.
Well, I think as well, it's interesting that the land here is very heavy, so you can't quite see, but behind me here is a giant puddle, essentially, and it's very muddy. So whenever there's rainfall, it's very wet, and it is suited here for milking cows. And a Jersey is obviously slightly lesser in weight than a Holstein. They're slightly lighter on the feet. They convert a little bit differently. It is very much suited to that breed. So it was a well thought out decision. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to go for Jerseys. It was quite a well thought out decision. But we're also like 360 degrees around us, like massively, apart from just there where you can see the lane, the cows can get out to grass. So we'll have a grazeway as well. That means that they can just get outside whenever they want, which is wonderful.
How are the other farms making a living?
Do you know what? They're not really farmed as such. There's one over there that's arable, but he also has a log business. This one behind us, they have a dairy farm, but they have a dairy farm in Penrith, which is 16 miles away or something. And this is they just use this for the overspill, they just crop it kind of thing. So yeah, we are pretty much on our own here, I suppose, with the animals. But yeah, they're nice, lovely neighbours to have though, because I mean, you can see behind me, we're just over the field and we can holler over, which is quite nice.
So, I suppose, when's D-Day, Dairy Day, I suppose? When do the first cows...
Dairy Day, we would like to be milking by March, early March. That's end of February, early March is when we would like to be milking by, which is not that far off.
No, it's not. And so, when are you going to buy the cows?
That is the predicament we're in at the moment. We did have a herd of cows in mind down south, and the guy was swapping over to Holsteins, and we thought that this was perfect. We were going to buy a whole herd of cows, the good, the bad, the ugly, and it was going to be really great. They were all just going to arrive. Anyway, Roy got in touch and they wanted them gone. They changed the goalposts. They wanted them gone by this month. We've nowhere to put them. It just wouldn't be ready, so we've had to let that one go. But hearing about what we're doing, the guy who supplies, who we will be supplying milk to, he's offered some. There's other people in the Jersey Society that we've been in contact with, they've all offered some. So just getting in-calf heifers in and things like that, it's not quite going to be the stress that we thought it was going to be, because I think we both thought it was going to be a massive issue getting cows here. But you don't want to buy them 3 from this auction and 5 from that auction, because there's a massive risk of disease and things as well, isn't there? You've got to be really careful. So we had it in our minds that we wanted to buy them from as few places as possible. So hopefully we can do that. But it's hard work when to buy them, because like with beef cows, I could buy a beef cow now and shove it in a shed. Regardless of what to do it in, I can shove it in a shed. Whereas with the dairy cows, you buy them and they've got to be milked. So we've got to have the equipment up and ready to milk the cows before they arrive, kind of thing, or time the calving of the cows. So yeah, that's been the bit that's a little bit up in the air. But we will get there. We've no choice. We're balls deep.
Well, I need to know how you do, because my wife is desperate for a house cow. She wants...
I have the perfect house cow. I'll take you to see her. Oh, nuisance. She's very well behaved. She's never put a foot wrong.
You're not trying to sell her, are you?
Yeah. Sadly, she's actually over there now. It's quite sad really. She's like my favourite cow. She came as a calf and she was really naughty. She used to bully Roy. Seriously, no, she did. She'd only move for me. So she'd like you'd move them all through to one side of the cubicles and then you'd scrape, all the poop down the slats kind of thing. And then she'd just stand there looking at him like, what are you going to do? And like you could throw yourself into the side of her and she wouldn't move. It was really funny. Whereas I walked in and she'd just wander off. It was great. So we've become really firm friends based on the annoyance of Roy. But she's not going to fit in the robots. She's not a dairy cow. She's a blue cross cow. She'd be a Belgian blue out of a dairy cow.
Wow.
But she's naughty and she leads things astray, and it's really sad. I like letting go of something like that is a bit sad, isn't it? When you've made friends with a cow, like I can go and ride her and things. So I'm going to find her a nice home. She's not just going for the big, chop. I'm going to find her a home. Your house.
Yeah. We'll have a look at it later.
I'll do a good deal.
Okay, I'm sure you would. But anyway, so exciting times for this farm. Just tell me. I mean, I listened to your NatWest chat that you did the other day. So fascinating the fact that you are not farming blood at all. So throw it into this. When did you buy your first pair of wellies?
I think I bought Hunter wellies, and can I say that? They were shocking.
These days, yeah.
They were not good.
Bust, by the way.
Oh, have they? Yeah, they were shocking, really bad wellies, I can say that then. I thought when I first moved here, I did very much go down the route of buying a Barbour jacket and Hunter wellies, and thought that I was going to fit in and be this little housewife, and I did crochet, and if you can imagine, I did. I crocheted a set of scarves for people one year for Christmas. It was amazing. I don't know how the hell I managed to find the concentration, but yeah, I got these wellies and I got this coat, and Roy would get me like a free Valtra boiler suit, and I'd go around in my little boiler suit which matched his, which the pictures are absolutely hilarious. Like our next door neighbours used to think it was really funny that we walk around in matching boiler suits. It was so sad, it was untrue. And then, I'm not from farming. I was as far removed from farming as you can imagine, and I think I would have thought of myself now as very lazy. And I mean that I'm not saying other people are lazy, I'm saying I just didn't have the motivation or the need, or I just coasted through life. I had no hobbies. I just very much just did what was expected of me, which was get up in the morning as late as possible, go to work as a carer and do my job, which was immensely satisfying, and it was a really good job and I really enjoyed it. And I do miss that sense of community that you kind of brought to people. I do miss that. And then I met Roy, ended up moving here as a carer. So I was going and doing my caring work, which was early morning and late night. So I had this massive big gap during the day where I did nothing. And they had a garage, and his dad would just say, "Oh, Charlotte, go and mother that calf on." And I'd be like, "What?" Like in my Hunter wellies and my Barbour jacket, going in on my own. And it was literally like, go and mother a calf on. And you learnt the bloody hard way, because it's a big animal and they've got very fast legs. And you know what I mean? And I did learn the hard way, which was nice actually, because I found that I didn't see the romanticised view of farming. I saw the really shitty end of the stick. And I enjoyed it still. So when the good things did come along, I obviously enjoyed it a little bit more. And I am absolutely in love with what I do. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the life that we have. We don't switch off. We don't have any money. We go on holiday. We don't go anywhere, to be fair. We go to a few shows of the year. That's about where we go. But I love it. I wouldn't change it at all. At all.
You've come from outside, so
yep.
I think there's a massive disconnect between a lot of the consumers and farming.
Huge.
You came from outside it. How on earth do you think we try and change that?
It's funny, I once I blame Gareth Wyn-Jones for this whole thing. Not me being in farming. No, I do. I fully blame him 100%. And I've told him this story as well. So I got myself into farming. I was, a little know-it-all with my Hunter wellies and my Barbour jacket and my little stick, riding around on the passenger seat of a Valtra. That was what I did. And I saw a post that he'd put online, and it was of a community Facebook group, and you know what they're like, the dog's pooed on such thing, and you know, the such swans are loose or whatever. And it was a lady who didn't know what a creep feeder was. And a creep feeder, there is one over there in that field actually. It's basically just a hopper that you put feed in the back and it rations it to the calves, but it's a box that has bars on so that the cows can't get in. That's what one is. And this woman didn't know what one was, but she'd not just said, I don't know what this is, can someone tell me? She'd gone all out and said it was a full-on torture chamber for animals. It was obviously the most terrible thing in the world, and they were all locked in it. Well, they weren't, they'd squeezed in because they wanted the food. That was the point of it. So I saw this and I reposted it with an equally self-righteous, you know, ha ha ha, how does she not know what a creep feeder is? And it turns out all my friends from Preston, where I'm from, they didn't know what a creep feeder was. They didn't have a clue. And I'd basically looked really stupid. There was quite a few people that commented on it saying, is it for castrating animals? Is it for moving them? You know, is it for trapping them? No one knew. And it wasn't obvious to them what it was. And that's when I kind of learned that we are not mainstream. People don't know the simple things of what we do. They don't know what a carving aid is. It probably looks like an implement of serious torture. If used wrong, it can be an implement of serious torture. They don't know what a crush is. They don't know what a race is. They don't know what, you know, all these things that we take for granted that we know what they are. People do not know what they are. So that's how I kind of started sharing our story. It was very much the simple things like, this is a crush and this is how it works. And it doesn't crush them. Don't think that it hurts them.
You take it for...
and in America, it's called a shoot. Like, this is the things that you learn. You don't realise that people do not know what this does. And the amount of people that get in touch and say, oh, I didn't know that. And that's the bit I like. I like that people learn something from you that you just take for granted. And I also enjoy being able to share something that I'm knowledgeable about without feeling like I've had to learn it, because you just know it when you pick it up over the years, which is quite nice. But yeah, it's all Gareth's fault, the whole thing. All his fault.
I mean, the reason we're having this conversation now is that I feel that there's more to be done. We can do more.
Yeah.
And I think if there was an aim, is it a case of, again, it sounds a bit worthy, but is it about, are we going to embark on just educating people?
I think education with a touch of humour will get further than preaching to people. Always. I think people have to find you relatable and funny, and I do very often in my anything that I make quite jokey references to myself, and I think it's to bring me down, to listen, I don't think I'm special. That's what I am aware that I do it. And Roy gets really cross at me sometimes. He's like, why do you do that? You seem stupid. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to tell people that I don't think I'm anything special. I don't think I'm better than you. And that's where I try to go with things. Whether or not that's the right way or the wrong way, I don't know, but it seems to, I feel, get further with people than trying to tell them something. No one wants, well, no one wants to be told to do something or told why they should do something.
With traditional BBC type, it's like,
I agree.
You know, that it's top down.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm telling you what you should be feeling and what you should be understanding here.
Cue really sad music. Feel emotion now. That's what they do, though. They do. They put the sad music in, and you are expected to feel terrible that this pig's going for slaughter. Well, no, actually, don't feel terrible that this pig's going to slaughter, because I have raised it from being a tiny piglet. I know exactly what it's eaten. I know every move it's made. I know it's never been hurt in any way or felt any stress. And it's also going to feed my family. It's going to go in a freezer. It's going to be killed in the most humane way possible. And I know that where it's gone and where it's come from, and I don't think that that's a thing you should feel sad about. It's probably something that you should feel proud about. Now, whether or not you put that across to people in the correct way is a different matter. I think you could probably, you could do what the BBC do and put cue sad music. This poor little piggy is going to slaughter, and it's terrible, and people feel sad. Or you can say, look how proud I am of what I've done. I'm very blunt, and you know, and I'm telling you, this is, I feel no shame in what I've done, and I feel proud, and it's going to feed my family. And also, if I was to go to the butcher's and buy that meat, it would cost me an arm and a leg, a fortune that you couldn't, could you? It's a lot of money. And I like to tell people as well what it cost, because I find that really interesting, because people don't understand the cost of rearing an animal. They don't, for one, they don't understand how expensive it is to rear an animal. It's probably a lot more expensive than what they think it is. But also what I'm saving money-wise is, you can't put a price. It's it's a lot of money that we're saving butchering our own, which is quite nice. I like that.
Farmers are pretty pragmatic.
Yep.
And they tell it straight. And I think, again, that sort of...
It's learned behaviour, though.
It is. No, I totally agree with you, because you have to be.
If I blubbered and cried, which I could do, every time something died, I would get nothing done. And it's not serving the animal. Like, I remember I had a pet tup. You shouldn't have pet tups, but I had a pet tup.
Explain what a pet tup is.
A tup is a male sheep that is used for, making babies. That's its job. I got this tup. He was a Dutch spotted, so he was a black and white spotty thing. He was beautiful. And we put him together with our Clin tup, which is another Welsh, like a hill breed of sheep. Really hardy, nasty little tups. Well, quite big tups, actually. And anyway, these two tups went together. We thought they were fine. They weren't. They went head to head and they bashed their heads, which is what they do. That's what tups do. And the Clin blinded the Dutch spotted after a day of having him. A day. I killed a tup in a day. So not only had I paid a fortune for it, I felt horribly responsible. So I was going to bring him back to life. Like, I was going to give him his sight back. I tried everything. I was Jesus in all him. I was doing it. So I tried giving him injections of vitamin B1, I think it was, all sorts of things. I went to the vets. I spent a fortune on this tup. And then I had it in my head that I'm not killing him. I'm not killing him because it's my fault that he's in this state. He was going to have a lovely summer of shagging ahead of him, and I've ruined it. So I was like, well, blind people can have babies. So why can't who am I to take away his ability to father lambs? It would just be discriminatory for me. So I tended this tup in the garden, and I took him water. He couldn't see at all. Took him water, banging into things. There's videos of it. I played him a ukulele once. He loved it. And I stupidly, in doing all this, made friends with this tup. And I used to take him his food, and he lived in the garden next to the house. The children loved him. He was no threat to anyone because he couldn't bloody see them. He was absolutely wonderful. He'd follow you everywhere. You'd shake the bucket, and he'd come over banging plant pots out the way and things. He was wonderful. So then I let him loose with the lamb, with these like sheep, thinking that he'd know exactly what to do. And people had said they don't need their sense of smell. They don't need it. In some places they chain the tups up and the sheep come to the tups. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is the way forward. He didn't. I think he ended up serving 2. I think for the timing that I timed, he served 2. And then he kind of just like drifted towards a hedge, and he led down in the back of the hedge, and then you'd see him like bumbling around the field, and then he'd hit the other hedge. And Roy was like, Charlotte, this is cruel. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I wanted to give him a chance, at least give him a chance. So we gave him that summer just out in the field with the other sheep. We put some more tups in because he was nigh on useless. And then he came back in, and it was time to send him to the auction, which I'm actually not sure if we were meant to do. I'm not sure if you were meant to send him to the auction blind, but I didn't know that at the time. So we got 40 quid for him. The insult to the injury was I was in, and I mean, it was like someone had died. I felt so bad that I'd put him through the auction. Like, I don't know what I was meant to do. I think possibly we were just meant to like kill him and bury him, but I don't know. I was led by someone else, but God, I've never felt grief. It was horrible. Do not make friends with animals because it just hurts. But I was mortified, and I mean, I was really upset, really upset. And Roy's like, you're gonna have to pull yourself together. I'm like, I just feel so bad, and it was hot. And then these videos kept popping up on my timeline of me singing to this tup. It was really even worse. It was horrible. But yeah, it was just. If I cried or felt like that over every animal, there was a point to that story. If I cried and felt like that after every animal that I'd had dealings with, I wouldn't be much good for anything. And, me crying and wailing and carrying on didn't make the situation any different for the tup. He didn't know. He actually didn't care, to be fair. He just saw me as food and shaking a tin and a soft.
He heard you as
Stop it.
Sorry. Anyway,
Oh, bless it. He was so lovely.
Brought up the high pressure. So, yeah.
But yeah, it's no good getting upset over stuff. It is learned behaviour. I think you become very hard to things, and you have to be.
But
you
then,
have to be.
Then also, do you become impatient when you're trying to?
Yes.
Almost not impatient, frustrated when you're trying to. I mean, I was talking to a farmer yesterday, and he said the comments you hear behind when he's showing his cattle. He said the levels of ignorance. It's really bad to talk about the general public. I'm not talking about obviously everybody, but a sector of the public that just are so disconnected from the grass under their feet, really.
But that's what I did with the creep feeder. I took the piss out of the woman. Can we swear? I didn't realise. Are we on the BBC? I took the absolute piss out of the woman, and I learnt the hard way that not everyone does know what we do. And I think actually, yeah, you can get cross, and you can, but going down the route of, oh, you're so stupid, it's not going to help anybody. And I do think educating people with slight kindness gets a lot further. And I've also found educating people with humour gets a lot further than anything.
Because you've got to strike a balance because farmers will watch the stuff you do.
Yep. I get some stick for it.
But this is you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, aren't you? Because you're talking in very simple terms to a farmer.
Yep.
However, you're talking in very complicated terms when it comes to someone that's just lives in the middle of Preston. I did
a skinning video. I skinned a calf. I've done many calves. It's me that does it. I do generally the gross things on the farm. We're not very usual in what the roles that we have here. Like Roy cooks the tea, I make videos. I'll do the disgusting things on the farm that he doesn't have the stomach for. He does a lot of the tractor driving because he's a better driver than me, and he's done it for a lot longer. Like, we are a very different team, and we both bring different things. Him obviously a lot more time than me because I'm too busy messing around on my phone. But I think I was skinning this calf, and I did it as delicately as possible. And then when I'd redone the video and I put it out on TikTok, and I did like an intro and then of me just talking, and then like an outro kind of thing. And then on the intro I said, really sad in this voice, this calf has lost its baby. And I'm thinking, I'm talking to 12-year-olds who play on TikTok. That's who I'm talking to. So I tailored the video towards a 12-year-old that had never seen anything so disgusting, and they were gonna be horrified. So I was like, if you imagine, in Antarctica and they have fur coats, this is essentially what this is. So I'm taking the skin off the calf, there's no blood, and then I'm going to clean it and put it on another calf, and the mum is going to be fooled by the smell of her old calf that's died, and she's going to take it. Well, that was wonderful, and everyone else received it really well, apart from like the vegan activists that made videos about me, which is another story. The farmers, however, oh my God, she's so stupid. Why is she calling it a baby? And I'm like, because using the word baby reached more children than tailoring it for a 60-year-old man who already knows what I'm doing. Like, he already knew what I was doing. What was the need to comment on it? You don't need to watch me skinning a calf. You've probably done, hundreds in your life. So it was a really funny thing to come up against a farmer who thought I was that pathetic that I had to use the word baby, and and look at her saying it's like giving it a fur jacket. It's nothing like that. It's
But this is to be honest, if you can have upsetting a grumpy old farmer compared to
all the kids
20,000 kids that
exactly.
Have watched it.
Oh, there was. I think it got seen by millions. Yeah, it got seen by millions, and I think it got seen by millions. One, because it was gross, and they loved it. But it wasn't the grossest. I could have gone further, but obviously it was on a kids platform, so I was very delicate what I showed. I did do a full YouTube video on it where I like blew it up with the airline and everything, and that went down quite well. But I think that morbid curiosity of people does win out, and they do want to see.
Pretty robust anyway.
The crap they see on the internet, they are totally robust. Like, seriously, none of this is going to faze them. Even the games, I'm not being funny, like, they can't be outraged. Look at the games that they play. Like, and they're very realistic to watch. So visually, there's nothing that's going to shock anybody, I don't think.
Tell me about, because I saw the video the other day about the fly strike.
Oh yeah, nasty.
So, but you were very sensitive about the way you delivered that. So why is that?
Just censorship, basically. That is it. If I it's just different platforms, different social media platforms. YouTube's very free. I could put me, chopping a cow's head off if I wanted to. It maybe wouldn't get advertised on, but I could put what I want. They're not going to take it down. On TikTok, if I put silly things, like for instance, the other day I did a silly video where I was, redoing the Bentley advert. And I flicked a fag at the end of it, which Roy sounds a heavy smoker, and I just flicked this ciggy, like a butt that was just on the floor. In the comments, somebody had said, it was the ciggy flick that got me, and I'd said, oh God, yeah, Big Roy's a heavy smoker. Big Roy's dad's he's a heavy smoker, and there's always fag ends around. I'd used the word fag, the video got taken down. That was it. So 300,000 views, and the video was gone because I'd said the word fag. That's how crazy TikTok is as a platform, and there's no one to talk to. There's no point in trying to get it put back up because there's no one to talk to. It's a computer. There's no one working there, and if you did get through to someone, they're Chinese anyway, so they're not going to want to, And I'm nothing compared to the big creators that they're used to dealing with. I'm just, a drop in the ocean. So silly things like using the word fag, that got a video taken down. So that shows the level of silliness that's on it. So when I said the word babies, yes, I'm dimming something down, but also I'm protecting myself from any kind of ill feeling. Do you know what I mean? It's a big computer and it's got trigger words and things. I couldn't really put any skinning of a calf on TikTok. It would just be taken down. That's how it works. You couldn't put any shooting on TikTok. Any mention of even a fake gun, the video will just be taken down. Like, I can't put lambing on TikTok. It's taken down. Lambing is taken down. Like, that's how serious it is. So the disconnect is actually growing because the social media platforms that we are using having things that are designed to protect children and protect people from, graphic content. They are categorizing farming as graphic content, so no wonder the divide's growing. It's crazy. But yeah, so for that reason, I don't necessarily use TikTok quite as much as what I did, just for that reason.
That's really interesting. Okay, a bit more sort of, everything all right?
Yeah, they're just following a quad bike.
Broader question, really.
Yep.
Farming, is it broken?
The supply chain's very broken, isn't it? I think big farms are going to get bigger. Small farms are going to start disappearing, especially in the changes with the subsidies and stuff. Like, we do personally know people that will not be able to afford to carry on. They won't. All of the subsidies are changing. They're going into more environmental schemes. Public money for public good is the strap line, which is, that's right. That's what it should be. But if you're 60 years old and you don't want to put, 10 miles of hedges in because, and you just want to carry on doing what you've always done, I don't think they're going to pay you for anything like that anymore. You're going to do what the government say, I think, basically, and they're going to make it that you kind of have to do what the public wants to see done on farming, regardless of whether or not that's the right thing to do. For instance, in our new milk contract, we have to put calves in a pen. So, what you might say, they've got a friend. That's what the public sees. They've got a nice friend to play with. In reality, you're heightening the risk of transmissible diseases or scour and things like that because you've got two calves in a pen. Really, they should be separate for their own good, but the public see that they've got a friend to play with. So you're doing something that goes against good practice because the public want to see a calf with a friend. So that's where farming's going, I think, and we're going to have to bend and do these silly things that we don't want to. We really are, and we won't have a choice because that's how it happens. But yeah, I think in essence that's exactly where farming's going. We're going to have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do just to please everybody else.
But that sounds like one massive national petting zoo.
Yeah.
That they're trying to create.
Well, I think that's pretty much, yeah, but for the programmes that people do watch on the television that are very namby-pamby and lovely, that's what they want to see. That's what they expect when they walk on a farm. Like the other day, I probably shouldn't tell this story, a friend of mine said, can my cousin come and visit your farm? They're staying in the house, they've gone on holiday. Can they come and visit? They've not been to a farm, they live in Brighton. I was like, yeah, of course they can, send them down. So this lovely man came down, wonderful electric BMW, very snazzy for all the pollution zones and stuff. Really, really nice, red leather seats and stuff. I'm like, don't jump up at the car, dogs! And these two children got out and they were gorgeous. They were absolutely wonderful, blonde hair, everything was lovely. And I was like, come and see the pigs. And I took them in, and the pigs, there's a gate that we use to move the pigs. And the pigs had knocked this gate over and squashed a chicken. So these poor chickens just led there dead. And these children were like, and I'm like, oh shit. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm really sorry. It just happens like that. And I picked this hen up by its foot. And these poor children, and the man's like, oh, children, look, there's some lambs. And I'm like, I could have died, it was awful. But I just, it was just really funny.
But this is the problem, because it's been sterilised for so long now. I don't know when, where that sort of period of reality ended and this fantasy.
Well, I think getting into schools and things is really important, and I know the NFU are doing a lot in early education, and also educating the teachers is a big thing. It's something that you wouldn't necessarily think of outright to change the perspectives of farming, but if you think of these teachers have access to all of the children, all of them, and all of them pass through the education system, I think that's a good place to start. And also they've gone to, for instance, a college somewhere in Bristol, and they've been in education, and then they've passed on to university in Bristol, which now doesn't have meat on the menu because that's the right thing to do, apparently, and they're in education still, and then they've gone on and they've got a job in education. And I think it's really interesting to see somebody who, you get these stories coming through in the media, and obviously you get all the worst ones, don't you, of people that, they've taken meat off the menu in the children's school. They're obviously the extreme ones, but the views of teachers will not be necessarily aligned with the ones of the farmers, because they've never had the experience of being on a farm, and they've never actually, I'm not saying they've not got a real job, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they've been in that very much a bubble of education since, going out of school, which is quite an interesting thing for them, perspective-wise. They won't have been subjected to any of this, buildings or the rough and tumble of the farm. So I think getting into teachers is quite an important thing to do. But how they do that, I know the NFU are working towards it, but how they do that, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether schools do a lot of farm visits these days, but you're right, it's
health and safety though, isn't it? How do you get a kid on a farm that's going to get bitten by a pig? It's hard work.
So you've got teachers telling the students about life in general and various different things, and then you've got the journalists explaining what's going on, and we consume it every single minute of every single day in lots of different ways. But they've gone through journalism school, they've gone to university.
I saw something on Facebook the other day when I logged on, and it was the weather, I think, from what I can gather, the script, what's on the television, and it was like 6 years apart or something, and it's actually cooler now than it was 6 years ago. And they've done, I think this website's obviously, this is the thing, it gets very polarised, doesn't it? This website's obviously, there is no climate emergency. I'm not saying that. I mean, look at where we are right now. It's like winter and it's the middle of August. It should be blazing sunshine. I should be in shorts. But I'm not. I'm not saying the weather isn't changing, and I'm not saying, the oceans aren't warming up and fish are dying. That's not what I'm saying. But yeah, I think it's just a massive, massive issue that people are just trying to, we're blamable, and we are, because we do plough land and we do have big tractors, and we are just a small section of society, and I think it's easier to blame the small section for something and everyone else to wash their hands of it. Whereas actually you're going on 3 holidays a year on, that cross thousands of miles, and I've not been on holiday since 2012. But then them two things don't align as well. Like the carbon that I'm sequestering in the soil, it is very much dimming everything down, is not the same thing as the emissions from an aeroplane, which is what people like to portray, especially farming people on Twitter and stuff. If you go on, it's like, oh, the cows aren't to blame for climate change, the planes are. It's a different thing. It's a massively different thing. And I get that they're, you know, the point that they're trying to make, but actually that it's not as straight cut as that, which is the bit that people don't want to delve any deeper, do they? Which makes it easier for them, and that doesn't sell headlines, does it?
They want to be shocked, they want to be annoyed by something, and
we're easy. We're a good target for that.
Absolutely, and I'd like to change that. I'd like to be able to show.
And I've done the getting shocked and done the getting annoyed. I did a video. It was something random, like a cow, you know, doing something. Anyway, a young girl. She was absolutely stunning, very well travelled, vegan, had made her personality about cooking plant-based diets and things. And she stitched my video and basically said that I rape cows, the usual, you know. I rape cows, I forcefully take their babies off them. I kill them straight away. If it's a bull, we kill them. It's not good business sense to kill something when it pops out. There's no meat on it. You wait a few months first. But I just saw red. I was bored one day, and I probably shouldn't have done. So I stalked this girl. Terrible. I stalk young girls. I stalked this girl. I went on her Facebook. I found out all the holidays she'd been on in a year period. She'd been to Guatemala. So, you know, and posted all the beautiful bikini pictures. Oh, she literally she was primed for it. Honestly, she really, really, really put her foot in it. And she'd been to South America, she'd been there, she'd been to Spain, she'd been all these fashionable places. So I added up all the flights that she'd done on all the miles. And I really went to town on this girl. And I did a video to her, addressing her. And I said, you have wasted. And it was like she'd been to New York as well. And I think it was worked out, and this is not accurate, but it's near enough. I think a return flight to New York for one person wastes as much carbon as we sequester on a 200-acre farm in a year. One person. That's not accurate, but like that's how crazy it is. So this girl, I literally went to town on her, and I was like, you do this and you do that and you do this, and she never replied. I don't know why. But that's how easy it is to get into that habit of doing that. And I'm never going to change her mind, and she's still probably eating a plant-based, very sheltered diet that costs a fortune and does her no good. But I'm not going to change her mind. But I don't think that's how I should have done it. I think looking back a year ago, I should have been more grown up about it and just ignored it, but I didn't. So
I think again, the trouble is with the veganism and the way they do it is that they are so opinionated about it, and they're trying to force feed the message. I think it's like with anything. If you take people on a journey,
yes,
then you're going to be far better off. So the idea of us doing what we're doing and trying to take people on a journey and not force feed them, however, gently move them into a position of being far more educated about what's happening, far more informed about what's happening, I think will help. And I think at the moment it's crucial because they think that stuff is made by Tesco's. They think the stuff is made by Sainsbury's. It isn't. It's made here.
Yeah. But they're also looking at videos from South America of huge feedlots and, you know, chicken processing factories that, you know, throw chicks into grinders. And that's the kind of media that they're consuming. And no wonder they have, you know, strong opinions, because if you did watch all of this stuff, you'd go, oh my God, farming's awful. So no one is going to put our message across if we don't do it. And I think we have to put our own message across there. No one's going to do it for you. And there's no point in complaining and grumbling about all these terrible videos that are out there if you don't, you know, contradict that with your own, you know, this is actually how it goes on and this is how I do it. Now, I'm not speaking for everybody. There's a farm just behind this here that's 1,000 cows on a rotary parlour. It's a big farm, massively different to what we do. But like, I'm not speaking for everybody. You can only put your own story across.
Yeah. Okay, let's stop for a second and just have what have you actually got here? What is animals wise, as far as acreage wise, what do you actually farm? So
we farm around about 200 acres. We have some outlying land. We have an allotment on somewhere called Stainmore, which is basically, if you imagine a fell, it's like, you know, it's a high piece of land. It's substandard land. It's got limestone pavement on the top. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful in summer, horrendous in winter, covered in snow. And then down here we are in the Eden Valley. So the Lake District is here and the Northern Pennines are here, and we are in the middle. When you drive down the M6 and you look up and see the golf ball, you know, or the A66 even, if you look up and see the golf ball on Great Dun Fell it's called, that's just on the other side of here. So that's where we are in the country. It is beautiful, absolutely stunning. It used to have one of the highest concentrations of dairy farms, but that's in the past. It's absolutely lovely. At present, we have a herd of suckler cows. There is 22. As I'm going to talk about them, they've all moved. They were there a minute ago. There's one there. We have 22 left, but bear in mind we are selling them. And these are the ones that calved, and we're selling them with calves at foot. So they will go, that was the plan. I think we're going to wean the calves and maybe keep them a little bit longer just to maximise the value out of them. So we have an awful lot of dairy bullocks on the farm that we bought in very cheap from dairy farms. They're not necessarily a premium product, they're more of a byproduct from the dairy industry, but that's something we're going to have to deal with going forwards. And they will make just a turnover, and I say that in the most non-vegan baiting possible way. They were to fill a gap while we knew we were going to be transitioning into dairy. We wanted something to farm, so we bought a lot of dairy calves in and we reared them up, and now they're all in the fields around us. They will also be sold, and then in their place we will get 120 jerseys, and they will get brought in. All the beef cows are going. The sheep are staying. I lambed nearly 200 sheep last year. No, I didn't. No, 150, but I'll be up to 200 this year. And yeah, they're staying. So we've just taken on a little bit of extra rent in the village just to enable me to keep those on, because otherwise I was going to have to lessen the numbers quite a bit. So they can stay. We've got 2 pigs, 4 chickens, and 4 dogs, 2 children and a husband.